Hello, folks. We're back. Joe Simonelli here, playwright, right here in Southwest Florida, in the writer's den, right here, where I write the plays. You know, I just recorded a nice, lengthy, well, for me, lengthy 22-minute video for this podcast. Unfortunately, because I am not a millennial or whatever generation X or Y or Z or W comes after them, I don't know how to work technology. So I had my nice YouTube sound cues, or I was going to play some songs and stuff. Forget it. Forget it. It didn't work. Now I'm pissed. But anyway, we will continue. And guess what, folks? Exciting news. Last week we had 22 subscribers. Guess what we have this week? That's right. We've gone up. Wait for it. Zero. We are still at 22 subscribers. Ring the bell. Can you hear that? I was going to play your Stars and Stripes forever, but it didn't come out. So now you get this cheap, lousy, me hitting the coffee cup with a pencil effect. Okay? Get used to it, folks. That's all I got. Anyway, I was going to start off the show with romance.com from my musical, but again, that didn't come out. So you can go on YouTube and listen to it yourself. Okay? We'll save a lot of time and energy. And now this video is going to be 10 minutes because I used all my good material and I'll probably not remember it. Anyway, another shirt from the Marty Armand collection. My sister Claire's birthday, I'm meeting her for lunch, was yesterday, so let's wish her happy birthday to my sister Claire. I don't know why I'm wishing her one. She never watches this channel. You know why? Because I only have 22 subscribers. That's why. And I'm sure she's not one of them. Actually, you can't tell who they are, I don't think. Unless you see who, you have a new subscriber and you see who it is. But I've had this channel, I don't know, years. And I'm surprised I even have the 21 subscribers because I wasn't doing any kind of, I was, doing clips, mostly promos for theaters. If they'd doing one of my plays, I'd record a promo for them, and that's mostly what was on here until I decided to do this because what else do I have to do on Tuesday mornings? Anyway, let's get back to the stock market and theater, my two favorite subjects. And I did buy a stock, folks. Let me just see what we're doing. Oh, I also was going to do my. Now I got to do it without music, which is absolutely ridiculous. But did you ever hear that song? I'm not talking about, John Ford Coley. Well, I never understood the lyrics to that song because to me, it always sounded like, I'm not talking about millennium. And I mean, I've listened to the song for 50 years and it always sounded like, I'm not talking about millennium. He's really saying, I'm not talking about moving in. Now, folks, no way, no shape does that lyric sound like, I'm not talking about moving in. You could have sang it like that instead of, I'm not talking about millennium. And I don't want to be. You know what I'm talking about, folks. I'm sure it's happened to you. You have songs you've been listening to wrong for years. So I had to, of course, go to ChatGPT and ask what the lyrics were. And they're not always right. So anyway, that's my pet peeve of the day. That song, which I've been listening to the wrong lyric for years. I've been listening to Louie Louie. You'll never figure out those. You got to Google it. Anyway, that's the other thing I was going to do for you with the music, but of course I can't. Anyway, oh, another thing. So on the stock market, this was a dumb bit, but forget it. I'm not even gonna do it. It was so dumb. Anyway, I was listening to a guy on Wall Street on YouTube. His name is Steve Eisman. He's got a podcast like this with a lot more subscribers. Anyway, Steve Eisman was famous because he was the guy who called the market crash in 2008 and they based the movie The Big Short on him. So he's got his own weekly podcast that you should listen to because anybody who's smart enough to catch that, and I had my suspicions because I was a broker back then, and I remember when I bought a house in 1986, I had to plunk down 20% because my brother Philly, who's a banker, said, "You want to know Doc Mortgage? You got to plunk down 20%." That's how he talks. So I said, "All right, we'll plunk down 20%." So we plunked down 20% like everybody else had to do to get a freaking mortgage in 1986 or 87, and when I bought that house. Anyway, fast forward to 2006, 7, when Wall Street does their finagling and create all these mortgage products. So a guy working at nothing again. See, I get in trouble when I say this. A guy working at a fast food restaurant, you know, earning 20,000 back then, had three houses. I couldn't figure it out. Why'd I have to put down 20,000? And a guy working at McDonald's, I can't say it, a fast food restaurant owns three houses because they were giving out mortgages to anyone because the greedy mortgage brokers were only worried about getting their commission. There was no guidelines. And they'd even say, how much do you make? Well, in order for you to qualify for this loan, you must make at least 50,000. Well, I make 10,000. Let me repeat. I'm asking you, in order for you to qualify for this loan, you must make 50,000. So how much do you make? Oh, 50,000? Right. Let's write it down and give you a mortgage, young man. And that's how that worked. So obviously, that's not going to hold. Something's going to happen. This guy figured it out and made a ton of money shorting. Reason I bring him up is I was watching him, and he now says it is safe to invest in the stock market because a lot of the finagling has been dealt with since 2008. Of course, none of the big shots, I can't mention names, went to jail for that because only the little people went to jail. So they got away with murder again on our dime. We paid it all out of our taxes. But yeah, that's Wall Street. They're all a bunch of crooks, and they'll remain a bunch of crooks. Your job is to trade on their crooked ways. So when they're manipulating a stock, get in low and sell high. Got you. Okay. Now, so let's get back to our. Oh yeah, I did go to ChatGPT before we move into a buy I made. I did buy Target. I remember I mentioned Target I think last week, and I did buy Target around 94. It's up about 98 now, so it went up quickly. And I am going to buy Hormel. Let me get. All right, I have to get this. I had this up before, but let me get Yahoo Finance so I can go into a little more detail about what I'm buying and what I bought. Okay, so let's go to there. Get that up. Okay. Now let's go back to what I was thinking about. Okay, so my two small stocks that I made a lot of money on, Jumia and Plug Power. I went to ChatGPT because I wanted to get a historical perspective on how the stocks performed over the years. Jumia, I don't exactly know when it came out. I'm assuming 2018, 17, something somewhere in that. I'm not sure. Anyway, its IPO price was $14.50. That's what the initial public offering. That's what the shares came out were offered to the public. Uh, the initial valuation was roughly 1.1 billion at the time of the IPO. First day of trading, the stock soared 75%, closing its first day at around 25.46 per share. I paid three and change, and it recently went up to about 12 and a half. But that's historically, I wanted to see where it was. Now, peak shortly after the IPO, within the first week, it briefly reached over $46 a share back when it first came out. So some schmuck paid $46. I paid three and a half. So that's a little history of that. And of course, Jumia was touted as the Amazon of South Africa. And again, I'm telling you what I'm buying. I in no way is saying, go out, go out. I'm out of the business. I'm giving you some insights on how you might make a little money. Whether you choose to buy them is up to you. Research them yourself. Don't come to me, John, you tell me the brand is. Shut up. I got enough of that over a 30-year career. I don't want to hear it. Buy it at your own risk. I'm telling you where I bought it. If it drops back there, buy some. If it doesn't, well, find something else. I don't know. But as I buy them, I will tell you what I'm buying. So Plug Power, that's the one I paid a dollar and change for, probably $1.25, $1.30. And that ran as high as my top ticket. Actually, I got out of a little at 4.5 recently. I still own a position. I have buys in underneath where it is now. Let's just see where it's trading now to pick up more. And this is strictly a trader, like I said, but very interesting when I found out about his history. So Plug Power, again, I purchased these when I got back in around the time of the tariffs, was the last good buying opportunity. So I picked up Plug for one and change. It ran to 4.5 already. I sold all the way up. Still have a position. That's at 296. I have a buy in around 248. Another buy around 211. If it drops under two, I'll buy more. And look, if that's the end of the company, that's the end. I lose, but I don't think it is. I think it's going to go up. It's going to fluctuate. That's the reason I'm trading it. But listen to the history of this company. As you know, they make lithium batteries. Okay, so I thought it was an interesting area when I got the tip originally on its actually a lesser known stock than Plug that was in the same business. Plug was the more established company than the one that actually went. When I got the tip, it was a penny stock at 50 cents that ran to something ridiculous like 6 or 8 back in 2020 after the pandemic crash and everything started coming back and people had made a lot of money. That was that stock. This was the better company, more established. So more established that I didn't realize that this company actually has been around since 2000. the year 2000, the internet. Remember the internet bubble when all those stocks went up? That was another mini crash. Well, that's when this thing hit. This is split adjusted, so it hit an all-time high of 1,497. Split adjusted, let's take a digit out. So you're talking about $149, which wasn't unheard of in those days. I don't know what it didn't give me what the IPO price was, but let's look in recent years at the highs and lows. So in 2020, this stock was as high as 33.91. In 2021, it was as high as 28.23. In 2022, it was as high as $12.37. In 2023, notice how it keeps coming down since it ran in that bubble after the pandemic. 2023, it was 450. 2024, it was 213. Where'd Joey buy it in 2025? Buck and a quarter. I'm just pure luck. I knew these stocks when I decided to get back. I said, well, let's look at those old ones I used to trade, and then they weren't. They were cheap, and I said, okay, let's go in. So yeah, let's just go to back to plug for a second, and year high low. 52-week range. I didn't even get the cheaper price. It got down to 69 cents, okay? So there. Somebody bought it at 69 cents, better than my buck and a quarter. The year high just recently is 458, okay? I got out of some stock at 450. All right, so that's the history of Plug Power. Got a speculative stock, but, we're trying to make a little money here. You know what I mean? A little money. Okay. I bought Target. I told you I was watching it. Well, let's pull up Target. I did buy some shares at 94 and change. Of course, quickly it ran to closed yesterday at 97.77. So that's up. It's a nice jump, and it was yielding when I bought it even better. It's yielding 466 at this price, probably around 460 when I bought it. Again, that's a nice yield on a stock. 52-week high, almost 160, 158. The low, 85. So I bought it at 94, 10 points off the low. Not bad. Okay. Target. So I went through in the other video that I crashed because I couldn't get the music. I went through the 10 stocks so we're saving time actually. And, who wants to be this long-winded? So, a long video is going to be short. But anyway, I went through the stocks. I punched to see what each stock that I asked ChatGPT for the screen of the 10 combined dividend aristocrats and dividend kings. They're both portfolios. Dividend aristocrats are the more well-financed companies, so they're larger. And they, of course, the strategy says if you raise your dividend every year for a period of at least 20 or 25, whatever their criteria is, that's why we're in these stocks. Dividend kings, same thing. And a lot of the names are in both portfolios. Same thing, only a little less capitalized, so smaller companies, but still companies that keep increasing their dividends. So I use both portfolios. That's a combined over 100 stocks. And again, do your own homework. Get a list of the dividend aristocrats and the dividend kings. Work that usually takes me 1 or 2 days because I go through each stock to check their year highs, lows. I just asked ChatGPT. Weren't always accurate. I caught them in some mistakes, like they didn't have AMCR on the list, and they should have, because that's one of the cheapest dividend aristocrats that I purchased a couple of weeks back. That's 8 and change, and that's yielding, again, over 6% AMCR. So the other one I'm going to buy probably today is Hormel, HRL, Hormel Foods. And I've been in and out of Hormel, in the past. So Hormel Foods, which I'll probably buy some today, is at 23.74. I like them cheap. The year 52-week range is 23.13, so you're right near the bottom. Your high is 33, so a 10-point trading range, not bad, but 489. It's almost 5% while you wait. Okay, so Hormel Foods. I'm picking some up today. All right, I wrote that down right there in the other video. I wrote it down. I was much funnier in the other video, but it's good when you're spontaneous. Here you get blah. Yeah. All right. Did I mention because I forgot, I might be repeating from this video. It's very early in the morning here in Florida, folks. By the way, temperature in Florida plummeting for Halloween. We're going down. Oh, wait for this. Wait. If I keep drinking the coffee, the sound gets different. We're going down to the mid-50s at night this week, folks, in the Southwest Florida. The Panhandle is already down there. The Panhandle where they got snow last year. Snow on the Panhandle. Anyway, it's going to be a cool Halloween. Why do I bring that up? Well, because it's the last weekend of my stage thriller, The Spirit of Bay Manor. 5 people must spend the weekend in a haunted mansion to prove whether the house is or isn't haunted. I, of course, play one of the leads. After all, I wrote the play. I thought of it. I might as well play the lead. Plus, I can't get any other actors. Anyway, Spirit of Bay Manor. It's a really nice stage thriller. Like, because they're writing so many original stage thrillers, right, folks? There's just a plethora of them. No, you're watching the same. Don't get me started on the same old stupid plays they keep producing. How about an original thriller? If you're in Southwest Florida, you want to see a nice old-fashioned ghost story? Come to the Cape Cafe Theater in the Cape Coral, CapeCafeTheater.com. For Halloween, we're giving you orange cannolis. That's right, not really regular cannolis. Coffee and dessert included. Okay, end of commercial. Last 3, and it's gonna be nice, and it's almost gonna be like a New Jersey Halloween. The temperature's gonna drop so much. So I'm excited. The cast is excited. You should be excited too. Cape Cafe Theater. Be there. End of commercial. Now, where were we? Oh yeah, Hormel Foods. So basically that's it. I went through the whole 9 stocks in the other video, but it's no point because they weren't cheap enough for me. So Target, I bought last week, I think last Wednesday. Hormel, I'm buying today. AMCR, and of course you know the rest of the portfolio. Maybe you don't. I don't know. I said it in the first video. I'm not going to say it again. All right, I'll say it again. Hang on. What else did I buy? Well, I sold a couple of things too. I sold some income, a couple of income funds I had just to buy the Target. And I think that's it, folks. So any questions, comments? Comment. Like the video. Subscribe. Hey, by next week, I might have 23 subscribers. If you share it and you like the content, comment so I have something to talk about. What do you think is the most overproduced play in community theater? You know my thoughts. I'd say it, but I want to keep pissing people off. I do that enough. So that's it, folks. Well, I went from like a 24-minute video to a 17-minute video. Saved you 5 minutes of valuable time. I'm off to not play pickleball because nobody's showing up today. Okay, folks. From Southwest Florida, Joey, the playwright, signing off. Till next week. Bye-bye.